Okay, hi. Right now, I'm in the middle of cooking. Okay? I'm making what I call kheer. You can see over here on the stove. This is North Indian kheer. It's not payasam. Uh, it's got rice, and it's got milk, and it's got some condensed milk, and some spices, but mainly you just boil this and you cook it for 45 minutes, and then it'll become a really thick texture. And after that, you cool it, put it in the fridge, and then you eat it, and it's really yummy. And I hope you will get a chance to eat it in the morning during class. The reason why I'm doing this is Commons bell. The reason I'm doing this, as you can see, I'm in the kitchen. So where did I learn how to do this? I grew up in a very patriarchal home, which means that in my home, my grandparents, always my grandmother was the one who's cooking, and in the house, and the culture was that the men will go do whatever they want to do, go work and all that, and the women stay at home. That's the culture. And even my mother grew up in a very patriarchal home, where the father would not know how to cook, so my dad does not know how to cook, and so my mother does everything in the house and all that. But even though the culture that I grew up in was patriarchal, but my grandmother and my mother were both very enterprising women, and they would. My grandmother was a superintendent in Rajasthan as a school. She used to be supervising government schools. That was her job, and as a so that's like for a woman at that age, and she was that's quite a big job for her to have. Then my mother, who started off simply as a typist, eventually became a secretary and became a general secretary in YWCA, and then she worked in an ad agency, and to the point where her investments led her to buy a house in Bombay for our home. So these women in my life, despite patriarchy, were really very amazing. And one thing that they did was that despite the patriarchy, I had to work in the kitchen with them. So they would say, go buy the dhania, pluck the dhania, stir this thing, make the rotis. And I had a sister, and she's 6 years younger than me. And initially they wouldn't ask her because she was too small, and they would ask me. But even when she grew up, I was always the one told to go into the kitchen and cook. And my sister used to get away with it, saying, oh, no, I'm not feeling well, or she wouldn't want to do it. But I always had to work in the kitchen when I was at home. And but what that did was that taught me something very important. Firstly, valuable skills of cooking, which is, I think, really good. But the other thing that it taught me was to respect women. Rather than sit inside and think, oh, I'm the man and I get to do whatever I want, I had to work in the kitchen. And my parents, my mother used to work. She had a job, and yet she'll be in the kitchen. So I realized that being in the kitchen is not the woman's job. It's also my job. It's part of our job. As a family, we all have to work together. And eventually seeing them and seeing how they treated me and encouraged me to be in the kitchen, I gained a respect for women, and I think I gained a respect for my wife. Much more because of that. And I really feel that my theology was impacted. The kind of Christian that I am was impacted by the way I was raised. It was because of them I realized that men and women are much more equal than we think. And it's not that God has said women should be in the kitchen and men should be getting their jobs, earning money. I mean, Jesus cooked. So the idea that we need to be thinking about men and women working in the kitchen, working in the house, and that's part of our theology, that men and women are actually equal and we are partners in the kingdom of God. So that's how my culture, and especially my grandmother and mother's counterculture, influenced my theology. Right? So now that's kheer is cooking. A long way to go. I still have another 40 minutes. Okay, sure, bye.